Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal.
Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. As always, my name is Anna and welcome back to another True Crime Tuesdays. And today we will actually be getting into the case of Paulette Farah. So if you enjoy true crime, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and let's get started. Lizette Farah was the daughter of Lebanese immigrants. She had a pretty well-off childhood and life. She went to the best schools and eventually became an attorney. Mauricio GEBARA also was a successful man in life, in real estate as well as other business ventures. Mauricio and Lizette would meet, hit it off, and eventually marry in 2001. The couple would welcome their first daughter, Lizette, named after her mother, and in 2005, Mauricio and Lizette would welcome a second daughter, Paulette Farah. She would be born July 20th, 2005. However, Paulette was born prematurely. She was actually born at 25 weeks old with little chance of survival. But she did overcome that and she would live. However, she was live with disabilities. These disabilities would impact her speech as well as her ability to walk. When Paulette was born, she was born at 35 centimeters, which is roughly about 13 inches, and weighing in at 800 grams or a pound and 7 ounces. In speaking, she would only be able to say enough words to tell people what it was that she needed, like food, mom, dad, water, the necessities. She would get therapy. The specific therapy would be called equine therapy or horse therapy. This therapy would help her to walk just a bit. However, she would still require the assistance of a wheelchair for most of her life. Now let's fast forward to March of 2010. The family is living in a suburban apartment in Huaxtlacan del Callado, Mexico City. I am going to put the pronunciation of this word because I'm pretty sure I butchered that.
Whiskey Lucan?
One important thing to keep in the back of your head is that Mexico City is a federal district within Mexico. So like how the US has Washington, D.C., Mexico City is pretty much Mexico's version of D.C. So with that being said, they are living in a pretty much like a federal district. The family, of course, one's a businessman, the other one is an attorney, so they are pretty well off financially. At least that's what they make it seem. But they also have 2 live-in nannies to help care for Paulette, and those are sisters Erica and Martha. Now at this point, Paulette is 4 years old, so she's just living her childhood. So on March 21st, Paulette, her dad, Mauricio, and her sister Lisette are coming home from having spent a trip with their father. I believe it was like a 5-day trip that the family had, but the mom, Lisette, is waiting for them to arrive. So once they arrive, Mom Lisette takes the girls and puts them to bed. Little does anyone know, though, that's the last time anyone would see Paulette alive. Because the next morning, on Monday, March 22nd, it started like any morning. Mauricio went to work, Lisette went to work, and the nannies started their duties. And one of those duties was getting Paulette up to go to school, to get her ready for her day. So when the nanny, I believe it was Martha, when she went to go wake up Paulette to get her ready, she was nowhere to be found. She wasn't in bed. She wasn't in her usual little hiding spots. The nannies were looking everywhere around the apartment for her, thinking maybe she got out. Maybe there's a logical explanation for this. So they search, however, unfortunately, they don't find much, and they're forced to call Maurizio and Lisette at work to let them know that their daughter has disappeared. So Mauricio and Lisette would come home from work. However, once they got home to the apartment, it was like if it was any other day, like they had no concern at the fact that their daughter was not there, did not know where she was, anything like that. They were just going on like it was any other day. In fact, Mauricio called his sister to let her know that Paulette was missing, and he told her like it was just any other phone call conversation, and it was actually Maurizio's sister who called police to let them know that Paulette was missing. So once police arrive to the home, they start looking, but here's the thing is that they weren't like looking like evidence, things like that. They were just looking to see as far as if anything had looked like it had been broken into. So they weren't really searching. However, things would change 3 days later when the Attorney General, Alberto Vazquez, he would hold a press conference, and in this press conference would be Paulette's parents, and they would be begging for her safe return, basically saying like, you don't have to worry about us coming after you, just give us our daughter. And it's at this point where he reveals like this banner with a picture of Paulette and a tip line number on there with the description and everything. So they display this at this press conference so that they could get more people out there looking for Paulette. Here's the thing though, is that in Mexico, a lot of children tend to go missing, and as far as policing goes, it doesn't really get taken as seriously in some situations as opposed to others. But nonetheless, this was being taken seriously, and a lot of people assumed that it was because of who Paulette's parents were, and not because it's a child that's missing. So over the next 9 days, trained dogs would be brought in to try and search the room, gather a scent in the apartment, anything that they could find to help them find Paulette. However, when the dogs got to the bedroom, they stayed in the bedroom. They never left the bedroom. Bedroom, of course, was searched many times, but Paulette did not turn up. But just to be clear, we are not sure if these were cadaver dogs or if these were search and rescue dogs, because there is a difference between the two. A cadaver dog is only trained, specifically trained, to smell the scent of decomposition. A search and rescue dog, they may smell it, they're not really searching for it. They're not looking for that. They're looking for a live human with this scent. The family would also plead on TV for Paulette's safe return. They would hold interviews in her bedroom. And Paulette's aunt, Ariette, she would make social media posts trying to bring more attention to this missing child. So here's where the case takes some twists and some turns. On March 29th of 2010, police would actually take Mauricio, Lisette, and the nannies, Marta and Erika, all into custody because their stories were not matching up. 2 days later, on March 31st, 2010, Paulette would be found. Paulette's body was found none other than in her very own bedroom. Investigators were collecting evidence from the bed, and they were attempting to recreate the room in order to get a more idea of what other possibilities could have happened to this little girl. Well, when the blankets were being pulled off of the bed, that's when she was found. Her body was found between the end bed frame and the mattress, and she was covered by the blankets. She looked as if she had been beat up, and the discovery of her body is actually on YouTube. I will link it down below if you want to watch it. I've seen it. It's very disturbing being a mother. It's very disturbing to watch. But like I said, I'll link it down below if you would like to watch it. But in the video, when her body is being discovered, it sounds like they're taking measurements of the bedding, and they're talking about her. They're talking about what they think could have happened to her. And as soon as they find the body, they're like, what is that? And then it kind of like, I kind of get the feeling that their brain is trying to catch up with what their eyes are seeing, because then all of a sudden they're just like, oh my gosh, like this is her. We found her. And of course, when this discovery was made, the Attorney General Vazvaz, he went ahead and made it known that this case was no longer a missing child's case, but a homicide. And their prime suspect was none other than Paulette's own mother, Paulette Farah. During a press conference that was held after the discovery of the bodies, Attorney General Vazvaz said, "She is the only suspect. I have no doubt that this is a homicide investigation. At this moment, we can say that Lisette is a suspect. In addition to her, we are investigating the level of knowledge of others involved." So after the discovery of Paulette's body, Lisette actually would request the court for protection, and the family was then released later. Here's the thing though, when they were released, they weren't released from a jail cell, because when they went into custody, they didn't go into jail. They went into a hotel. That was until a judge signed off to have them released. On April 4th, 2010, Lisette, Mauricio, and the nannies would all be released from this hotel. Mauricio would be the first to leave, leaving at 10 a.m. Lisette would leave an hour later at 11, and the nannies would both leave at noon. So now they're released, and the investigation is still going on into what happened to Paulette. This is when Mauricio and Lisette started to turn on each other. Not to the police though, but to the media. They would do interviews, and Mauricio, during one of his interviews, would say his daughter's death wasn't an accident, and that Lisette knew something, but that he didn't have the evidence. Lisette would say that her husband blamed her. As for Lisette, the daughter, she would live with her father, and while her father was being detained, she lived with his side of the family. And the GEBARA family did everything that they could to make sure that it stayed that way. After autopsies were completed, Paulette was able to be laid to rest, being laid to rest on April 6th of 2010. And she would be buried at Lejaria's French Pantheon in Mexico City. The funeral was headed by Lisette, but Mauricio and his family, the GEBARA family, and that was because of an agreement made by Mauricio and Lisette. An autopsy would be completed, and the results of that autopsy would show that the cause of death for little Paulette was asphyxiation. and her death would be ruled as accidental. Of course, after everything, Mauricio and Lisette would divorce. They would divorce. A month later, in May, Lisette, she would file for full custody of her daughter, Lisette, and she would be granted full custody. Another thing that Lisette did was she sued. She sued the Attorney General's office for how they handled the case. So she won that, and she won 531 million pesos, which in today's rate is the equivalent of $25,467. Now, there is a theory, it's a Reddit theory, and one that suggests that maybe Lisette did kill Paulette. Again, this is alleged. Everything moving forward that I say is going to be alleged and off of Reddit posts that I found, and that if I can't find them again, I will find a way to credit somehow. But it goes as says. Remember when I said that Mauricio and Lisette were well off? At least that's what they were leading on. They were, in fact, having trouble in their marriage and having trouble financially. The marriage side, it's alleged that Lisette was having an affair and that Mauricio knew about it. And also because realistically, taking care of Paulette was very, very expensive. Between the horse therapy, any special physical therapy that she may have needed, any type of speech therapy that she may have needed, any type of medication that she may have needed to be on, anything like that. Insurance only covers so much, and with this being Mexico, I mean, it can get expensive. Another thing too that plays into this theory is the fact that Lisette did suffer from personality disorders. She was once described as an attorney as being very intelligent, very capable, very sharp, but cold, and without any emotional attachment. And it's speculated that she just couldn't handle the stress that came with having a special needs child. So she decided that she was going to end her life, allegedly. So that is the case of Paulette GEBARA Farah. What's your opinion on the case? Do you believe that theory where you think the mom may have had something to do with it? Do you truly think that it was accidental? And how about the smell? Why couldn't anybody smell a corpse? Go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. And again, if you enjoy true crime, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, give this video a like, and have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see you soon. Bye!
Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a